Holy Gospel according to St. Luke, the 12th chapter.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said, "Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Be dressed for action and have your lamps lit. Be like those who are waiting for their master to return from the wedding banquet, so that they may open the door for him as soon as he comes and knocks. Blessed are those slaves whom the master finds alert when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will fasten his belt and have them sit down to eat, and he will come and serve them. If he comes during the middle of the night or near dawn and finds them so, blessed are those slaves. But know this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming in an unexpected hour." The Gospel of the Lord. Today's sermon is based off of the beginning of our Gospel, Jesus' pledge. "Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is our Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." And the utter incongruence of that with the disturbing world we find ourselves in. One full of pain and shock, hatred and violence. The latest shootings in our nation are just one example of how suddenly fear can overtake us. Now the truth is, there are many things to fear. Many things that cause us anxiety, many things that weigh us down. Jesus telling me not to be afraid is like him telling me not to breathe. I almost can't help it. And while I know that Jesus is trying to offer you and me comfort and promise, the cynic in me is like, "Right, Jesus, have you been paying attention to everything that's going on in our world lately?" Which causes me to sort of dismiss and gloss over everything else that Jesus has to say, because my feelings don't feel honored by his unintentional dismissal. However, what's very, very true is that frequently in the Bible, fear is told to step aside. And I believe that's because fear is faith's most formidable adversary. When my courage dies, my faith falters. And fear sets itself firmly down in the driver's seat of my life. And suddenly faith ends up locked in the trunk. I believe that faith allows me to have the audacity to take a journey just because God has asked us to. At least that's a bit of Abraham's story, and it's been my experience too. And so I decided today that for my sermon, I would write a letter to fear, bringing it out of the shadows and to strip away some of its power. I want to live by faith, like the writers of Hebrew beckon us to. And I also just really, after everything that's been going on, I just really felt like telling fear to take a hike. Additionally, I want to say that I got the idea to write a letter to fear from a book, which I know is a shock. I read a lot. But I mention it because I borrow an image from the book called Big Magic, and I just want to acknowledge that I got the idea from that author. So, dear ominous presence, fear. I know that you believe that you have a very important job in my life, to protect me, to keep my expectations in check, to heighten my senses when needed, and to keep me small. And so I thank you. I thank you for how hard you work. You are superb at your job. I recognize that you must take your job very seriously because there is not a day that goes by that I'm not aware of your presence. Apparently, part of what you do is induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting or courageous or new. And you flood my heart and mind with crippling worry and anxiety when uncontrollable things happen, causing me to doubt in God and the goodness of humanity, which is frankly not cool. Well, I wanted to let you know that Jesus and I are going on a road trip, a journey, if you will. And I understand that you'll be joining us. You always do. That's fine. There's plenty of room in the car for all of us. However, I'm going to need you to sit in the back seat, Jesus and I are the only ones who will be making decisions along the way. You're allowed to have a seat and you're allowed to have a voice. A quiet whisper will do. You can even look out the window and proclaim cow each time you pass one. But you are not allowed to vote. You are not allowed to touch the roadmap. You are not allowed to suggest detours. You are not allowed to fiddle with the temperature, and under no circumstances may you touch the radio. Jesus is in charge. He and I have work to do. And just like we recognize your contributions, it's time you let us do our job. So faith will be driving this go-round. Where will faith take us, you ask? You think faith is just blind trust built on silly fables and archaic ways of thinking? You think that by looking to faith that I have somehow stuffed logic and responsibility in the glove box? It's quite the contrary. That's just what you would have me believe. I've done a fair amount of thinking on this, so why don't you listen to me for once? Faith empowers me to set out for new places, to anticipate new arrivals, to wait for big changes, and to search for new homelands. Faith is the itch under my skin and the ache in my heart that turns my face towards distant stars and helps me believe that there is more and that somehow I'm part of that more. Faith is longing, faith is hunger, faith is engagement, faith is diligence. Faith stirs holy restlessness, and you, fear, always try to squelch it. Now I know that you hate uncertain outcomes. I know you made Abraham and Sarah anxious and apprehensive because you were afraid to hope. I know you caused the stewards to have sleepy eyes and greedy hearts because you were afraid to trust. I know you want us to believe that things can't change, that protecting oneself is the only way, that life was better before, because you are afraid of the journey. However, faith empowers us to take the first step and the next and every step after that, even with you muttering in the back seat. So, as I said, Jesus and I, and a whole lot of other people, have places to heal, people to love, things to change, mountains to move, lamps to light, and stars to wish upon. The world is waiting for us. So get in the back seat and enjoy the ride. With gratitude, Kristen.